you have two kinds. You have somatic mutations and you have germline mutations. So germline mutations are those that are passed down within families. And you hear about the BRCA1 and you hear Li-Fraumeni and you hear a variety of other of these so-called. These are inherited risk factors. They are secondary risk factors. The primary risk factor is damage to the ability of the cell to generate energy through oxygen. So when you see these mutations in families, like the BRCA1 that you hear an awful lot about because of Angelina Jolie and others having breasts and ovaries and all this kind of stuff removed as a prophylactic because they carry the gene. But the issue is that only about 50% of the women that have that gene will actually go on to develop some sort of a tumor. 50% of them will not. And the answer is we're not really clear about that, but we know that every one of the women that did develop a breast tumor or an ovarian tumor or whatever that carried the gene, we always find that the cells are fermenting. They're using energy without oxygen. So we know that's the common link for all these different cancers, whether it occurs sporadically or through the germline. So when we hear about cancer as a genetic disease, that comes from the theory that somatic mutations cause dysregulated cell growth. So you have to say to yourself, what is this? What is cancer? It's cell division out of control, dysregulated cell growth. What causes that? And the answer according to the National Cancer Institute, and it's gene mutations in a variety of different targeted genes. But we and others have shown that those mutations are not the cause, they're the effect of damaged energy metabolism. So the mutations are effects, they're not the cause. So if you're constantly chasing effects, the outcome is never going to be optimal. And when you have, we're targeting this gene and that gene, all of those are downstream effects, they're not the cause. So this is why the field is locked into this perpetual problem where you hear all this, but cancer is out of control. When you have 70 people an hour dying from a disease, this is an out of control situation. And it's not, and it's going to stay out of control as long as the field continues to put energy into all these gene mutations, and then you have the immunotherapies, which you hear about, Keytruda, Opdivo. That's all based on the somatic mutation theory of cancer. And if the theory underlying the disorder is incorrect, those drugs are never going to be optimal in managing and reducing the death rate. That's what I want to know. Can you reduce from 1,700 people a day to 800 people a day? That would be a huge advance. If you did that in 5 years, you know you're on the right track. So, right now, the system, it does not acknowledge that. They have no clue. Not all of them, of course, but most oncologists, when you tell them it's a metabolic disorder and you can manage it using diet lifestyle issues, they say there's no evidence to support that. And the evidence, they don't read the evidence. Well, it's one thing, and it's another thing. If you don't read the research material and understand it, then you remain ignorant of the information. And there's no way. And you're not trained in medical school to know this. You're trained that cancer is a genetic disease. You go to the National Cancer Institute website, everything's cancer is a genetic disease. And you feel like, well, there's nothing I can do about it. I've inherited these genes and it's out of my control. That's wrong. Everything is, you have a lot of control over this disorder. It's just that you've been made to give an opinion that's not supported by the new science.